This is day 297, Finding Solace. Sometimes there isn't a clear reason for feeling down or depressed. Sometimes it's just part of the human experience. It's come to my attention through some recent study that not everyone experiences periods of melancholy, a listless feeling of undefined expectations that can be discouraging and produce feelings of restlessness. I got that out of a dictionary. It isn't quite depression, but rather a transition phase, perhaps even the beginning of a transformation. Some people live life more in the extremes, where emotions are more vibrantly felt than described. Others tend to be more careless and less concerned with the what and the why. I don't think either way is right or wrong. It just makes sense that some people simply don't experience this feeling. I do. And it seems to come in cycles. I've learned to accept and deal with it, and typically will use it as preparation for a coming spring. My own journey with these emotional ebbs and flows led me one day to a prison psychiatrist, who basically said that my mood cycles, if I even really had any, were temperate and normal at best. Nothing was wrong with me. What was wrong was my reaction to these cycles. He then went into a discussion about how most real mental illness exhibits in young adults. After puberty, a young person about the age of 21 or so begins to demonstrate or show signs of successful or unsuccessful methods of coping with or dealing with stress, external factors, maybe their own decision-making, and chemical and hormonal imbalances they might be having. Since I was in my 30s at the time of this discussion, he pointed out that I had developed some preconditioning on handling changes to my emotional state, and that my reactions, my coping skills, and my defense mechanisms were what I needed to look at carefully. So basically, he basically just said, chill out and get over it. And just accept the fact that you are not going to feel great and awesome every day. Some days are going to be roses, and other days are going to be dandelions. Black clouds will surround you one day, and the silver lining will break through into brilliant sunshine the next day. What I needed to do was recognize that and stop allowing that to set me off course. Rather, make the choice to stay on course, to make correct decisions, recognizing that I was feeling bad today and not allow that to derail my life ambitions, not allow that temporary feeling of angst or stress to destroy what I was working on. So that brings me to the advice that I now follow. There are going to be many days in the cycles and tides of habit forming and keeping commitments that just do not work out well. You just do not feel right. You were grumpy, bummed out, discouraged, or just plain out of sorts. This is normal and happens all the time. In fact, it is probably a very predictable pattern, and you have never actually tracked that pattern to prove it. My advice to myself is just to recognize it. Here's my internal mindset now. Oh, I'm feeling like crap today. Everything around me feels dull. My head is foggy and I do not really want to do anything today. My legs feel like lead and my shoulders are sagging again. I accept that and recognize that it is happening again. I make no judgment on this. I do not need to judge myself negatively for having this feeling. It just happens. I'm not a failure for feeling bad today. I am not going to collapse into despair and get buried under a mound of anxiety. Instead, I recognize that I am feeling that way, and I find comfort in the fact that sometimes there is just no discernible reason why. And that is okay. Allow yourself to be simply in that space without the added burden of trying to search for an explanation. This too shall pass, and you are not alone in experiencing these inexplicable shifts. While often nothing to worry about, if these feelings persist, affect your life or manifest physically, then, well, you should probably get help. Sometimes underlying causes like hormonal changes, past trauma, or stress can affect mood without your conscious awareness. However, for those moments of unexplained sadness, simple actions like physical activity, listening to music, self-compassion or meditation, or spending time outdoors can offer relief and help lift your spirits. Instead, I recognize that I'm feeling that way, and then I choose to do my commitments anyway. True, I struggle through them. True, I'm not as good at them as I would normally be. I might be slower. I might do a bad job or a worse job than normal. I may not feel at my best. However, I do the best I can. I power through it. I make sure that I do not do anything destructive and stupid. Above all, I do not make any important life-changing decisions when I'm in that state. Rather, I wait a few days. Usually I start feeling better, I'm back on track, and everything is fine. Then I can make a decision to change something or make an improvement. As I've kept my commitments over the last 297 days, I have noticed that the downward cycles, the low tide, has tended to be farther and farther apart. The low points are less low. My recovery time from low points is much faster. I do not do destructive things, like eat too much ice cream, which is my kryptonite. So maybe this blog post only really applies to me. Perhaps I really do have a mental illness and I am the only one that experiences these temporary setbacks of mood. However, I doubt it. I think we all go through the cycles and tides of our own internal weather system. The invitation then is not to fight the storm, but to learn how to navigate it, to recognize its passing nature, and to trust that the sun will inevitably return.